So this past year, I was teaching a class of rabbinical students from all these different seminaries, and it was a class about innovation. And we were getting to the last class. I think it was over the course of 15 weeks, so it was really a long class. And we were getting towards the end of the last class, and I had this activity planned to kind of help bring the class to a close and also kind of let go of some of the expectations that maybe people had that weren't serving them. And so I explained what we were going to do in this ritual, and I asked everyone, do you understand? Are we okay? How are you feeling? And one person kind of raised their hand, and she said, no, this isn't helpful to me at all, and kind of didn't want to do the activity at all. And other people chimed in as well and were like, yeah, this isn't helpful to us. This is not how we want to end the class. And I was really taken aback. I was literally, people were kind of like almost rebelling against me as the teacher of the class, and were saying this wasn't what they wanted to do. And what we ended up doing was having a conversation about how did they want to end the class, and what were the things that they were still hoping to get out of our time together in this group together. And it was a lot of talking about different projects that they were doing and wanted help on that were ongoing, even though the class was ending. And so as a result of this rebellion, we came up with we came up with a few things that they wanted to do and continue on with, even though the course was over. And one of the things that was really important that we found out through the course of this conversation that was led by the student was a lot of the people really looking to stay connected with each other. And so even though I was really taken off guard, because usually people, go along with what the teacher says, it helped, and I think made the course better in a way, because it helped make sure all the students were heard and listened to, and helped me as a teacher reflect on what was important for them to take away, and helped me think about it for next time I teach a class like that, different ways I might want to structure it. So like I had this like rebellion in my teaching. This week in the Torah portion, we also have a rebellion. It's Korach. Torah portion is Korach. It's a great story, full of drama. So check it out. But so him and 250 others come to Moses, and they say, Moses and Aaron, and they say that you've gone too far. For all the community is holy, all of them, and God is in their midst. Why then do you raise yourself above God's congregation? So they're saying, Korach is saying, why you, Moses? What makes you so special? Aren't we all special, right? And we're all holy. We all deserve the priesthood as well. Moses pleads with Korach to back down, but Korach and his faction won't. So Moses proposes a way to prove who is right, which is the next day they'll take their fire pans and offer incense to God, and see whose offering is accepted, if it's Moses and Aaron or if it's Korach and his faction. And so it's this very dramatic scene. Korach and his faction, along with all the people, are gathered in front of the tent of meeting to see what is going to happen. And God is very angry. God is ready to wipe out all the Israelites at that moment for questioning Moses and Aaron. But Moses and Aaron beg God, saying, "Oh God, source of the breath of all flesh, when one man sins, will you be wrathful with the whole community?" Right? So God relents, spares the people, but not all of them. Because God does end up, he opens up the earth and swallows all of Korach's faction and all of their possessions. And the Israelites start panicking. And then there is a fire as Korach's faction are offering the incense. A fire comes down from the heavens and wipes out all of the men offering incense and just leaves their burnt fire pans as the only remainder. It's pretty clear from how things play out that Korach and his faction are in the wrong. The men offering the incense are consumed by fire, and then the rest of them are swallowed up by the earth. Yikes, right? Korach is not the good guy in this tale. And you would think that these fire pans left behind, right? These almost like blasphemous fire pans, because Korach was challenging not only Moses, but God, that these fire pans that were used to offer the incense for this competition would be worthy of destruction. But that's not what happens. All right, so it says in Bamidbar, in Numbers 17, verse 2, it says, "Order Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, to remove the fire pans, for they have become holy. from among the charred remains and scatter the coals around. These fire pans become holy. And he continues that once they've let them be hammered into sheets as plating for the altar, for once they have been used for offering to God, they have become sacred, and let them serve as a warning to the people of Israel. And so the Torah is saying that these fire pans of Korach's faction, this rebellious, blasphemous faction, are very much not trash, but are kadosh. They are holy and worthy of being kept. And not just that, but they are going to become sheets that plate the altar, to plate this holy piece where sacrifices are offered. It's unexpected. So how did these instruments of rebellion and desecration gain this status? So Rashi puts forward that perhaps they are holy because they were used in service of God. And even if it was wrong and not the way to serve, they still had been transformed into vessels that could now no longer be used for anything else. And Ramban, right, Nachmanides disagrees with Rashi. He says that no, he does not understand how these fire pans could become special through this use, since it was alien fire. If they weren't offering the right incense, it wasn't in the right way, it was forbidden worship. So how could that make the pans holy? Instead, he offers that they become sanctified so that they may serve as a warning to the people of Israel. Ramban says that this is all to serve as a reminder and a warning, and that this is what the fire pans were set aside to do. Right? This idea of kadosh, of holiness, can also mean set aside. So they were given a special purpose, and according to Ramban, their purpose was to help remind the Israelites of this thing that happened and warning them not to do it. But my favorite thought on these fire pans becoming holy, is from Rav Kook, who came a few hundred years after our two medieval commentators. And what he taught is that the holiness of the fire pans symbolizes the necessary role played by skeptics and agnostics in keeping religion honest and healthy. Challenges to tradition are necessary. Plating the altar with the fire pans of the rebels is meant to remind us of the legitimacy, indeed potential holiness, of the impulse within each of us to rebel against stagnation and complacency that can infect religion. Rav Kook is saying that challenging institutions can be a good thing. Even though Korach was doing it for the wrong reasons, the challenge and the question is important. The rebelliousness we each have within ourselves is a holy impulse. We just have to be sure to channel it in constructive ways. Korach's challenge was not so constructive because he was rebelling just for the sake of gaining power and prestige. He didn't have a vision. He just wanted to be powerful, just wanted to be more special. In Pirkei Avot, chapter 5, verse 17, they speak about this difference between an argument, l'shem shemayim, for the sake of heaven, and one that is not. Disagreements that are held for the sake of heaven, meaning in order to make Judaism better and to make the worlds better, are described as ones that will endure. They'll go on, right? Their effects will continue on and make a difference and push us forward. And the ones that are not l'shem shemayim, that are for selfish reasons, are the ones that will fade and have little lasting effect. In this Pirkei Avot text, they ask, what are some examples of these types of arguments? What's an argument l'shem shemayim, for the sake of heaven? What's one that isn't? The one that's given for l'shem shemayim are the arguments of Rabbi Hillel and Rabbi Shammai, who are in the Talmud, who are always going up against each other, but they can push the conversation forward. And the example given for the type of argument we should avoid, that's lo l'shem shemayim, not for the sake of heaven, is Korach from our very Torah portion. Right? His disagreement and rebellion were not done in a constructive way. They were not done l'shem shemayim. However, asking questions and challenging authority is something Jews have been doing for ages, and part of what I think has helped us to survive. Like the arguments of Hillel and Shammai helped push Judaism forward by sharpening our thinking around issues of religious practice. When we get complacent and just do things because that's how things have always been done, it can get stale, and we can forget why we are doing it in the first place. But when we are challenged or forced to think about something in a different way, it can help us reconnect and potentially make something even better. We don't want to be complacent in our religious practice or in our lives. We want to rebel against that stagnation. Even in the case of Moses and Korach, it forced Moses and the Israelites to think about who had certain roles and why. The people got to see that Moses was the rightful leader in this case, and they also got to see his humility and grace. Even while the rebellion was happening, and Moses had every right to be super angry, he instead pleads with God to have mercy on all the people. It is another episode that helps the people maybe have a little bit more trust in Moses and accept his leadership. Right? And just like in the story in the meeting with my class, I think that argument was L'Shem Shemayim, and people were bringing it up and bringing up why they wanted things to look different for good reasons. And it helped me, and it helped them, and it helped us as a class to really think about what we were doing together and how we wanted to continue on doing it, and really improved. Right? And right now, we don't necessarily have a rebellion in the Korach sense, but we are being pushed to look at things in a different light, right? Thinking about how do our various institutions function. Maybe, right, we can think about this at Beth David, but please don't stage a literal rebellion. I'd really appreciate that. But instead thinking about what is important to you in community and helping take action to make that happen. Maybe it is with our representatives in the government. Even if they are in our preferred political party, are there things they could be doing better? How do we challenge them? Maybe make a phone call, write a letter, learn more, visit office hours. And also within ourselves, what are the parts of ourselves that we have let get stagnant, where in our lives we are just coasting? How can we challenge ourselves to break out of that? Those fire pans that become part of the altar teach us about the potential holiness in questioning, and also are a warning against doing so for our own glory. As we make these challenges and make sure we are doing so L'Shem Shemayim, for purposes that go beyond ourselves, we can work together, and together we can help make the world a better place and have a little fun and challenge each other. Shabbat Shalom.